emergency for you. All right. I got a United aircraft coming in, lost number 2 engine, having a hard time controlling the aircraft. He's at a 29,000 run, descending to Sioux City right now. He's east of your VOR, but he wants the equipment standing by.
Radar contact.
Okay, so you know we have almost no controllability. Very little elevator and almost no aileron. We're controlling the turns by power. I mean, we can only turn right, we can't turn left.
United 232 Heavy, understand, sir. You can only make right turns?
That's affirmative.
United 232 Heavy, roger, sir. Yeah, that's a closed runway. That'll work, sir. We're getting the equipment off the runway, and they'll line up for that one.
How long is it?
6,600 feet, 6,600, and the equipment's coming off.
Isolate this.
I've been reflecting on the crash of Flight 232 ever since it happened. For me personally, it was a moment when I also had to come up with all of my strength to maintain some kind of composure. I remember the highlights and the lowlights. And the highlights were when it appeared as though there was some control of the plane, that Captain Haynes and the crew had some control. And then I remember the highlights when we learned that they were actually within distance of the runway and had the runway in sight. So through all of that time, my role was to try to report the story in a sensible manner based on all of the information that we had, and at the same time maintain my composure. So when all of this was unfolding and we were reporting the information that was coming aboard, there are certain things that I remember in my mind that are still a vision, as if it happened just a couple of moments ago. One was when I walked into the newsroom in the afternoon, not much was going on. It was early in the afternoon, so we're looking around to see what the newscast was going to look like at 6 o'clock. And there had been some scattered reports on the police radio that there was a plane with some problems because of the hydraulics. But frequently we would hear that about the A-7 fighter planes coming in for the National Guard, and after a fashion they would say, well, we've got that under control, the plane landed safely. So I thought it might be another National Guard plane. And then there was a statement on the wire that asked how many souls were on board.
And United 232 Heavy, did you get the souls on board count?
Nearby. Hey, right now we don't even have time to let go to call the gal.
Roger.
292.
In my mind, I could just imagine almost 300 people on that large DC-10 aircraft. That is when we were able to talk about the preparations that Gary Brown and all of them had made 2 years previously, practicing for such a case. And I remember with a little bit of humor that a couple of years before that, when they were asking all of the media people to become involved in that, even some of the television employees to participate on that day of that drill, everybody kind of guffawed it because whoever would have thought a plane that large was going to crash in Sioux City. So here we were at a moment in time when this was actually happening, and we were all witnesses to that. And that was pretty scary. And I found myself at times grabbing a hold of the anchor desk and just kind of hanging on and hoping that I could maintain my composure. As soon as it got to the runway, the right wing dipped and crashed and exploded into a ball of flames, and that's when our hearts sunk. But you can imagine, as was reported, the air traffic controller, who had been so calm and collected through the entire event, I was told, as reportedly just sunk to his knees in the control tower when that happened, and all of us kind of felt the same way. So that was a terrifying moment, and we continued to report. For me, one of the best views that I had of all of it was to see the medevac helicopter coming up out of the smoke. So that was the first sign that anyone had survived. One of our reporters called in and was quite upset because they wouldn't allow her to get out on the runway where the crash site was, because that was where the news was. And she complained because she said some sightseers were milling around the crash site. And as she learned later, of course, it was some of the survivors that had walked out of the wreckage. The flight crew survived, and they were all in the cockpit of the plane that was squished down. And I think it was later into the evening before they discovered them, or they found them later, but they all survived. And then later, as you have seen a number of times, Captain Haynes was seen on television, and can you imagine, here we had seen this plane crash before us on television, or some of those at the site, to have the captain of the plane on television a few days later from the hospital in a news conference. To me, all of this has been just one of those events that a person will never forget. Now, most of you probably have read or know that there was a lot of counseling that was for anyone that was involved in the plane crash and covering it or serving the needs of those. And that's something I commend, again, the Sioux City organization of the counseling for the individuals, the triage that was enacted at the airport, and all of those lives were saved. And as we've always said, there were 112 people that lost their lives, which is unfortunate, but there were 184 that survived. And to this day, that is some kind of a record. And I felt honored at the point of my news career to be at that moment of a story that had such an impact on Siouxland. And as I've told you, it still affects me today, I think in a positive way, because I live my life as though today could be the last day and look forward to whatever days I have left.